Hey everyone, how's it going? Back to another video. And today I want to chat a little bit about a topic that comes up quite frequently that I think a lot of people tend to struggle with, and that's figuring out what to eat. It's obviously a very broad topic, but I think, especially for people who are in similar stages of life as me, where I'm just busy. I think everyone's busy through all stages of life, but particularly right now, in my current life, things are just, I don't know, bonkers with kids' activities and stuff at school and lots of work stuff and family stuff. And it feels like my day doesn't stop from the time I wake up till the time I put my head on the pillow. When you're in those phases of life, however old you are, maybe you're younger and you're going through, you have a lot of schoolwork, PhD work or master's work, or you're later in life and we have some family stress going on, or taking care of older family members or something like that, whatever it might be. So lots of times, the last thing you want to think about is the meal that you're going to eat and what to make for dinner or what to have for breakfast or what the macros are, or how many carbs and fats, or how much protein is in this meal. And there's just only so much space in your brain. You only have so much mental capacity that at certain times, it's just really the last thing you want to think about. So I want to introduce a concept that I find particularly useful during these stages of life or times of life, called anchor meals. And these are meals that you come up with. So I'm not going to tell you what they are because what I like to eat. I'll give you some examples of my anchor meals, but you should do your own and do your own. Take some time to come up with your own set of anchor meals. You might take some time to figure out what that is, but anyways, these are meals that you can go to. You can make virtually at any time during the day, any point. You already always have the ingredients on hand to make them. And they, let's say, do the job, quote unquote, do the job, right? That means they're healthy, they're whole food ingredients primarily, probably have a decent set of macros. What those macros might be, not really sure, right? Depends on you, your goals, what you prefer. So I'm not going to give specific macros, but should obviously include things like plenty of protein, whole food protein. It should include some types of fruits or vegetables and some amount of carbs, based on you and your goals and whatnot. But they're just meals that you can go to. If you make them, you know what the macros roughly are. You don't have to think about how to make them. You're not staring at a recipe book. They're tasty, but you enjoy them. And all that. They're just something that's easy, right? That way, you don't have to put any mental effort into thinking about your meals when you're super busy. For me, I have a couple of anchor meals that I like to go to. I'll start off with my quote unquote breakfast, which is always, and I make this meal I make all these meals no matter whether life is busy or not, because I actually do enjoy them. But I tend to rely on them more when life gets busy. Anyways, my breakfast anchor meal is always going to be a couple eggs, usually 3 eggs, some egg whites added to that. So bumping up the protein with the egg whites. Smoked salmon, again, adding some protein there, some healthy good fats in the salmon. And then I will have plenty of vegetables, all kinds of vegetables, peppers, onions, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, zucchini, summer squash, cauliflower or broccoli, all mixed together, sautéed in the pan. Scramble the eggs, cook them that way. I usually add a little guacamole I happen to have some on hand onto the eggs, a little hot sauce, and that is my go-to breakfast meal. I'll do different variations of that, but honestly, I ate that meal every single day for years. Lunch is usually leftovers. So again, this back to the little bit of planning, the thought, but there's usually some kind of protein left over from the night before. I'll use that. Then I'll have kimchi, pickles, chopped cucumbers, and maybe some tomatoes. And I'll have some fruit, strawberries, blueberries. I've been on a mandarin orange kick lately for some reason. But just any kind of fruit usually sounds good for carbs at lunch. Free. Again, super simple, super easy. That's my second anchor meal. And then dinner, we have a couple of anchor meals that we usually rotate through. The first one that comes to mind is Mexican. So you usually take a bag of frozen cauliflower rice. Again, diced up peppers and onions. I don't dice them up on the day that I make it. I dice them up beforehand, usually on the weekend or my meal prep time. Throw that in the pan, saute it, cook it up, add a little CNA taco seasoning to that. And then protein. The protein we rotate through on taco night, sometimes it's steak. Really like to grill a nice flat iron on the grill with some taco seasoning on that. But for taco night in summer, we'll do this brand of ground chicken called Mighty Spark. I find it in the grocery stores quite frequently, but Mighty Spark has a fajita seasoned ground chicken. And again, in the package, you just plop it in a pan, cook it, and you get some ground chicken. We do that quite frequently for me during taco night, and then we will cook a bunch of white rice in the rice cooker. And that is our third example of grounds of an anchor meal that we have for dinner. Another example for dinner anchor meal, literally skin on chicken thighs, season them however you want, throw them in the air fryer, frozen bag of broccoli or cauliflower, cook that up in the oven, you bake it, saute it however you really want. And then some type of potato. I prefer sweet potatoes, so I'll bake a bunch of sweet potatoes on the weekend and use those throughout the week. Butter a squash, I do quite frequently, same thing, bake it, use it throughout the week. You can do white potatoes, you can do whatever. You can do rice, doesn't really matter. Pick a carb that you like. Whole food carb, but I just tend to do potatoes or squash at dinner for myself. So that's another example of an anchor meal. And so I use these meals, like I said, all the time. But I especially lean on them when life is really busy and I don't really need or want to think about the calories, the macros, because I know what's in these meals. I've made them 1,000 times. I've weighed things out. I've calculated all the macros. I can just eyeball things and I know exactly what's on my plate because I've done it so much. So a lot of people just struggle when life gets busy because then they don't have anything to go to. They don't have any idea of their anchor meals, right? So they rely on the fast food, the takeout, the quick and easy options, which are generally not as healthy, right? And they can't gauge the calories, the protein, macros in the meal, and they don't have the mental capacity to do it. They end up overeating, honestly. And it can be hard. I acknowledge that, right? It is hard to do that stuff, to have the mental capacity in those busy times of life to think about those things. So instead, if you take some time when life isn't so busy, to come up with your own set of anchor meals, figure out what they are, and then rely on those during the busy times, you'll be much more successful. So I hope you find that tip useful. Let me know what you think your anchor meals are. If you have any, let me know in the comments, shoot me an email. I'm happy to hear other people's ideas and what they rely on when life gets busy. So that, I hope you have a great week. I, as always, will be continuing to put out content, and the best way to keep up with all that content is by joining my newsletter. You can do that at rjbhealth.coach. Click on the newsletter tab at the top, and sign up for the newsletter, and all the content I put out free every week will be delivered to your inbox. And if you need help trying to navigate all of this in whatever stage of life you're in, I do have a couple one-on-one coaching spots open, so you can join or inquire about that, and we can discuss a little bit more about one-on-one coaching if you want by going to rjbhealth.coach. Click on the scheduled discovery call button on the homepage, fill out that form, and maybe chat a little bit about that. Have a great week, everyone. I'll talk to you all soon.